Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Lali-Ho League. We are currently in the round of 32, the bracket stage, and we've got an exciting race tonight featuring Dia versus Locke. This is going to be an exciting one, and I'm glad that I'm able to call it with my co-commentator Xenocat. Xenocat, what's the story of this race?
Oh my goodness. The story of this race is Dia went 5-1 in the Swiss rounds, so she gets a one-game advantage and got to place right into this round of 32, whereas Locke went 4-2 and so got a lower seed and happened to roll a seed that was low enough that he had to play a play-in race, which he did win, or a play-in round in the opening round. So he has advanced to this round of 32, but Locke needs 2 wins here in this best of 3 to unseat Dia, whereas if Dia wins this race, she advances straight to the round of 16.
So yeah, big stakes for Locke especially, but I'm sure Dia would rather get this over with as quickly as possible too, so I don't expect she's going to take it easy on Locke here.
Yeah, I can't imagine Dia would ever take it easy, honestly. Dia is a phenomenal runner. And Locke is a great runner too. So this will be a pretty exciting race, but it does look like we have a Yang start, and we're looking for characters today.
Yeah, lots of characters, a lot of physical characters, Sid and Kane, along with the starter Yang. Not a lot of mages that we're seeing as far as this goes. I'm sure that our runners are going to hope to find someone who can cast some spells here or there, though.
Yeah, I would especially be looking for a white mage. White mages are extremely useful on this flag set. Blink and Berserk are both very nice spells to have access to, and you can buy items for those, but money is limited, so you don't exactly want to be spending all of your money on Blink and Berserk when you could be using other tactics.
Yeah, and in this bracket stage, we no longer have the ability to sell loot for money. Anything that you sell will be sold for 0 gold. So yeah, spending a lot of money on items like Bacchus wines and illusions, which is something that you could do in previous, like in the Swiss rounds, that's just not really an option unless you want to forego everything else that you're buying.
Yeah, I found that usually you clear the blue planet and you'll end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60,000 GP on a typical seed, not counting little bits of money that you spend along the way. But these runners are going to be hard pressed to buy large stacks of anything except maybe sirens if they're buying a large stack of those for a grind.
And anytime you go into an equipment shop, the thought of buying something that's actually useful, those items are usually pretty pricey too. So if you want to invest in something like that, that is something that you're really going to have to think about and purchase wisely.
For sure. But it does look like our runners are off.
Yeah, so now we're going to get to see a couple of pieces of information right at the beginning of the seed. We see Old Man Tella as the character. That's actually a pretty happy one, I think. The Adamant is a very nice item to start with, Octoman being the boss here. And it looks like there's some pretty good gear in this starter kit that we get today.
Yeah, that Poison Axe will be very nice if we can find either Kane or Sid early on.
Yeah. The Poison Axe being a very strong, with attack points, weapon, though it does kind of suffer from low accuracy. You're going to see swingy damage amounts dealt with that particular weapon, but especially early game, it's a very nice weapon to have.
Yeah, not super reliable damage, but it's definitely stronger than anything that Kane or Sid would start with.
Yeah, with this C Neki flag that our characters start with just one relatively low starting piece of weaponry and no armor whatsoever. So now we see some divergence right away. Locke going with the classic Baron looting circle, where Dia has decided to go to the Watery Pass. There's a chance for a bit higher rate, like higher quality gear, but it's a bit more out of the way where Dia's going.
Yeah, this is a bit out of the way. There's not really an incentive to come here other than the loot. but Dia has found an Ogre Axe, and Locke has just found an Edward.
Yeah, Edward, another character, but not one that we're looking for. Not as much upside to Edward in these bracket flags as there was in the Swiss flags, where the spoon flag was on. Our Bard can no longer swing a spoon for a ton of damage.
Nope, he's just a normal Bard. No spoons allowed. It does look like both Locke and Dia are going to find out about the Rydia that... well, Locke showed us the Rydia. Dia's about to find out about the Rydia in the Kaipo bed.
Yeah, I think with 2 character hunts, the priority of even just face checking these characters is pretty important, as we see Dia take a quick reset after getting that info, going back to where she was so that she can move to her next place a little bit more efficiently. That is using your save slots to a very strong degree.
For sure. It does look like Dia's heading up Mount Hobbs, while Locke is looking for a little bit more loot and shopping. And we found one of our characters already. There's Sid.
Yeah, Dia having both a Poison Axe and an Ogre Axe in her inventory, that Sid is going to be quite strong right off the start. So that's a very a nice character, as well as the objective being done. It's just a character that's going to make the overworld go so much smoother.
For sure. And Yang was nice enough to start with a Poison Claw. And Dia found a second one in that watery pass. So Dia's Yang will be doing a lot more work than he otherwise would be.
Yeah, I believe it's what +3 strength for that Poison Claw.
Yep, +3 for each. So overall, it's a +6 strength for Dia.
Yeah, and that's huge. The Poison Claw, kind of the second best generic claw behind the Cat Claw, but it's pretty nice. If you can pair it with an Elemental Claw to do elemental damage, that's going to be very good. But even as it is, 2 Poison Claws is a pretty decent setup for Yang.
Yeah, it does look like Locke's now heading up Mount Hobbs, just a tiny bit behind Dia. Really just behind the length of this Paladin fight. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that they started with a Samurai Bow, which is the best bow in the game, except for that Artemis Bow, which is a tier 7 item, and we're not going to be finding one of those for a very long time, probably.
Well, I mean, key item checks could possibly yield it, but yeah, the Samurai Bow by itself is pretty good. I believe +10 strength on that one? Or is it +5?
It's +10.
Yeah,
and I think there's a Heroine Robe in there as well. So if Rosa shows up, she could do some work.
Man, even Sid could do work with that. So, well, not with the Heroine Robe, but with the Samurai Bow.
Yes, with the Samurai Bow. If only we had arrows that were functional and not Medusa arrows. Oh, hi, Wyvern.
Able to get at least 1 Star Veil up. That means this Wyvern is toast.
Yeah, it looks like the Seed has decided that our runners will be handling all of the lunar bosses first tonight. But Dia has been rewarded with the Tower Key from Antlion.
Always a nice find to know that you don't have to do 2 trips up the tower once underground access is found. So it's not like a super high priority item, but it's one that's nice to have in the pocket.
For sure. It's not exactly what you hope to see in that check, but it's never, you don't hate it.
Right.
Looks like Locke is going to do a little bit of extra looting and check out this back of Mount Hobbs, while Dia is heading over to defend Fabul.
Yeah, this is going to be an opportunity to get a bit higher tier equipment. That Curse Ring is a very nice pickup.
For sure. I mean, considering we started with 2 very good anchor characters in Sid and Tella, and it looks like we're going to be leveling them up a little bit, Locke has just gained the ability to level them up as much as he wants, and then use either of them to anchor in the late game.
Yeah, so now, like, the difference of the early looting and where they went, Dia has the Ogre Axe, which is Probably, as far as things go in the end, a bit better than the poison X that was in the starter kits. And Locke has that curse ring that Dia doesn't have access to right now. So both of them have one kind of advantage over the other.
Yep, and it looks like Locke is being very thorough with his looting all, even that left side of Antlion. Getting some good armor, but all of this looting does take time.
Yeah, it's one of these things where if it pays off, it could give Locke a much easier go through the middle and the late part of the seed, just by the virtue of having better equipment through opening all these chests. Dia is not really known for opening a ton of chests throughout her runs. She likes to get through things quicker, but sometimes a little bit riskier.
Indeed, and it does look like Locke did find a ninja sword in the Antlion save room. That'll be nice if we find an edge.
Yeah, the Ice Claw is also pretty good too. If there's a couple of bosses that are weak to ice, and having Yang take those elemental weaknesses to the advantage is very nice. I always like it when you could pick up those elemental claws, just make them a bit more functional.
Yeah. Yang really excels at exploiting elemental weaknesses as a melee character, which is something that most other melee characters can't really do that effectively.
Ooh, Dia finds the pink tail for defending Fabul, and once Dia has the hook, then she can complete objective number 3. So that's a very big pickup there.
Indeed, and not only will that complete an objective, but Dia will get one random tier 7 item from that pink tail turn-in once she gets the hook, which could be a fantastic weapon for any number of characters. Or it could be a white shirt.
Yeah, and it could be something like, it could be like a Mazamune, and there's no edge in the seed too, and you don't even get to sell it for a bunch of money this time around.
Nope, if you get something that you can't use, sorry, you can throw it away. No money.
Locke also being able to dispose of the Wyvern without too much issues, gets his tower key. We'll see if he decides to go to Fabul next, or follows Dia up to Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, I really like this Mount Ordeals play at this point. Going through Mount Ordeals will teach Tella a whole bunch of his spells, and those spells can actually be very useful in the early game. And it does look like Locke is skipping over Fabul for now. Fabul doesn't lead to anything, so this, other than that pink tail, so as long as he doesn't fade it for too long, this should be fine. But it does look like he's going to even this out a bit, and might get a little bit more efficient routing with getting underground access without having to do Fabul first, and then getting to double dip Fabul instead of triple dip, or even get a single dip if we find the pan.
Right. If he decides to skip it, it might be a gamble that doesn't make the way underground, and Locke, knowing, has his back against the wall, like starting the game behind in this pseudo best 2 out of 3. He might be just gambling that doesn't make it there, so that he only needs to make one trip to Fabul throughout the entire seed. And when you're going up against a strong player like Dia, those are the sort of things you got to look for. So I think this play makes a lot of sense here for Locke. It can potentially catch him up, and then once the pan, or at least one trip to the Sylph Cave has been made, he could come back and do both the Sheila 1 and the Defend Fabul, get that pink tail, and have that in his possession as well.
Yeah, and important to note, the pink tail doesn't give Dia any advantage for now, other than until she gets the hook. So
that's a good point.
There's no benefit to having it in the inventory other than if somehow she were to reach 10 key items, but that's not going to happen until we get underground at least.
Right. Now, if our underground, our item to gain underground access is the magma key, then this is going to be really good for Locke. If it's the hook, and Locke continues to decide to avoid the Fabul until the underground portion, then depending on what that weapon is, that could give a huge advantage to Dia.
Yeah, especially if that weapon is something like an Artemis bow for this team.
Yeah. And so we had Dr. Luge up here in the first fight on Mount Ordeals, first of 3 bosses. Not too difficult of a boss, but for a boss that's usually very easy to defeat, this one is kind of annoying in this spot. So we end up seeing the team get poisoned there on Dia's side, but able to get through, and now we'll get the second fight here.
Oh, this is the best thing to find here. We have the karate fight at the back attack, which has a fun little graphical glitch that Dia just showed off, which is that he will kick all the way around the world.
Yeah, Final Fantasy IV, not programmed for Yang to be in a back attack, does not know how to kick to the left, will only kick to the right. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are not supposed to be at back attacks. For example, count, I don't think was ever intended to be applied at a back attack. All the numbers are backwards. So it looks like you have 10 seconds left, but you're on 1.
It's considered not a very difficult boss to find at this spot. The weaponry that our teams have right now make it pretty easy to get through this.
Yeah, Sid is doing some good work, and Young is helping. Although he's going to shine a little bit later in the seed, I think. If he's still
Yang really needs levels to make his power shine through more. Even with the poison claws that we found early, remember he's not getting any advantage. We don't have access to like bandanas, black belts, and we don't even have that starting strength ring that we saw in the Swiss round. So he needs a lot more help to get strong.
Yeah, he definitely needs a lot of help to get strong. But once he gets there, he can do some serious work. But Dia
he has a ton of hit points. That's also good.
Yes, the hit points are amazing. But Dia is through that back attack Young, and will be showing us what our key item is from Mount Ordeals and what this final boss will be.
Locke right behind her as well.
I mean,
no key item, just the Siren. It's a pretty good item though.
Yeah, that's like a lot of experience that you can get later for free instead of buying a
Speaking of free, we've got a boss here that is pretty free, and you don't really usually want to see free bosses in easy spots like this. This spot only has 1,000 hit points in general, but the Officer Soldier fight is one that is like any status effect you can use on them. The 3 soldiers up front are basically chumps, and you get rid of them, the officer runs away. It's just an easy fight wherever you find it. And here it's an easy fight in an easy spot, so it's that much easier.
Yeah, I don't imagine neither of our runners having any issues with this fight at all. Locke using the fire through it just a little bit faster. But the real reward from doing this check was the spells on Tella.
Yeah, full-powered Tella is really nice. He really becomes kind of a very good utility player who, in a pinch, can do a lot of damage, especially with a boss that's weak to an elemental.
For sure. Those level 3 elemental spells can be very powerful. And if we find a Soma drop, we could see some swag rocks, although they take a while, and we also have to find a Soma drop, because I don't imagine either runner is going to be too keen on shelling out 20,000 GP just to get Tella access to Medio.
Yeah, probably not worth the money when money is as tight as it is in this flag set.
Dia has confirmed that Todd still smells. And it looks like both of our runners are meeting up at Baron Inn.
Yeah, both trying to get that Edward in their party, really trying to find the way underground. We haven't seen a lot of face checks for bosses, so that D-Mist might be looming, having the way underground, but as of yet, we don't have either of our ways, which would be the hook or the magma key.
Yeah, and with no boss hunts, I don't hate leaving the boss base checks till last.
Right.
The only way that I do is if it's a D-Mist and that D-Mist has something that you need.
Right. And I think I agree with you in that. So with no boss hunts for objectives 4 or 5, now our runners know that the first 3 objectives are going to be there, those 3, every single time. The last 2 could either be boss or character hunts. With them not boss hunts, makes sense. Now we've got the Mega Sisters to worry about.
Yep. The Mega Sisters here can be a little bit wonky with their agility sometimes, and sometimes their turn order is wrong, and sometimes Mindy hits Cindy with a spell.
Yeah, again, Final Fantasy IV did not expect to have the agility of the Mega Sisters messed with at all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Cindy does pudge pretty hard.
Yeah, Cindy's the scary one. She also has the most hit points. The blink on Sid is going to help Dia out there.
I think Dia, yeah. Dia put up a blink, put up a veil as well to protect from that charm, and Dia is through. Well, Locke, I think, had to take a reset and is going to go to Fabul and maybe take care of the Fabul check, but we do have...
that's the magma key.
Underground and an Edward.
That's really... Yeah, Edward, not much of a reward here, but the magma key is huge. Getting underground, and the easy way underground too. Don't have to go through any extra bosses in order to get to the underground this way. Just get to fly down through the hole next to Agart. And meanwhile, because that boss knocked the wind out of him, Locke now is going back to Fabul, kind of hoping at this point that this would be the way underground. Unfortunately for him, we know that this is not the way underground. It will give him that tower key, though. Oh, no, not the tower key, excuse me. The pink tail.
Yeah, we know that this is required for that 3rd objective, but unfortunately it's not the direct progression that he wants right now.
Right. And it's another one of those situations where you can totally understand the logic. Like, this boss is just a little bit out of my reach. Let me go over to Fabul instead. I can not only get a little bit more experience, which might help me with that fight, but this also might be the way underground, and I could see some more things before I have to go back to the Baron Inn. Unfortunately, though, Dia able to get through that fight now has underground access.
Yeah, and so Dia is going to be getting us our first look at this underground. It looks like she's heading straight to the Fey March.
Yeah, going directly to a place where there is a free key item check. The chest that in the vanilla game houses the rat tail will give a potential key item. Also, it looks like Dia is taking some time to loot this cave. So there is one trapped chest in the Fey March. The idea is Dia's probably not going to be able to take that fight of the 5 warriors. However, once she finds it, she can reset and knows exactly where it is, and also could open the chest, only the ones that she's interested in, that she found for this time through.
Yeah, it looks like she's interested in that ninja sword, not interested in pretty much anything else that she found on the first trip through.
Yeah, and that makes sense. The ninja sword, very good weapon if edge is found. You don't want to clog up your inventory with a lot of stuff that you don't want either. So, see our runners making use of that R trigger. It's a quality of life impact. And when you open the chest, if you don't want what's in there, you can hit R, and it'll automatically discard that item back into the chest. As long as you don't leave the screen, you can go back to the chest and pick it up. But otherwise, it just saves on the inventory management time.
For sure. And Locke showing off one of the denser but unfortunately not as high tier areas of Damsian Castle, which has a lot of chests that just have 0 GP in them.
Yeah, that's a consequence of our sell for 0 item, or sell for 0 gold flag. There are chests that have items that are just not very good in general that have been replaced with the equivalent amount of gold. And since everything sells for 0, that equivalent amount of gold becomes 0 in these scenes.
Yeah, it's basically just the sparse flag all over again, which is where some of the chests are empty, except now you can't see that the chest is empty. You have to go and open it and find out there's nothing in it.
Well, we see Dark Knight Cecil to be a sure spot. Dia's going to take it and try to hide Eddie. Not enough time.
Yeah, Edward is not very fast at base level. I think only has 1 point of agility on Tella. One thing we didn't mention when all that is that Dia did pick up the package from that Feymarch freebie, which could be potentially arcane.
Yeah, good point there. And that's one where I'm sure the next time Dia goes back up to the overworld, she'll swing by Mist and check out to see if that's... Now, there's other characters that Dia might be interested in. A Cecil, a Rosa, a Porum, a Fusia, an Edge, I think would all be welcome additions to her team. The question is, which of these characters are ones that she wants to invest the time in that cutscene into? Maybe multiple of them, maybe only Kane.
Yeah. It will depend on what she thinks is worth sitting through that package cutscene for. But Locke has returned to Baron Inn, gotten through the fights, has his Magma Key and his Edward. And we'll see where he goes once he gets underground.
With all of that, he's not really that far behind Dia. He is a few checks through. If he wants to full loot Feymarch, then that's still going to cost him a little bit more time. But if he's happy with his looting and just doesn't go through that, doesn't try that Dark Knight Cecil fight, he could gain up a little bit of time on Dia through those checks.
And Dia has found that Sand Ruby, which would give her access to Iridia if she so desires.
Interesting one. Do you want Iridia on your team? I don't think she is particularly popular in this flag set. What's your take on Iridia there, Xenocat?
I mean, she's a good anchor. And sometimes she's useful, but mostly she's a good anchor.
Yeah, I think maybe if you find an early Sylph, Leviathan, or Bahamut, then you might be interested in her, but in general, no.
Yep. We found an Evil Wall in Mist Cave, so no demist there on Dia's side. And Dia is going to check our package character. And that is a white mage.
Not worth the cutscene as far as Dia is concerned.
Yep. Porum is not the favored white mage by many runners, so it makes sense that Dia would maybe hope that she'll stumble across a better white mage in the course of running the rest of the seed, as we still have quite a few character checks that she could very easily make. But it does look like she is taking the Iridia.
That's interesting. Now, remember, we do have that heroine robe from the beginning of the run. The heroine robe and the samurai bow. It's not going to take a whole lot for Iridia to be a formidable fighter.
It's not. That is true, but Iridia also might make it possible for Edward to get hidden for that DKC fight, because Iridia is so slow at level 1.
Yeah, lots of things, lots of possibilities now. There is, of course, Dwarf Castle that has a character check, and with the tower key, we've got the full tower available to the runners as well. But it looks like Dia wants to cash in that siren.
Yep, might actually be looking to use this, make some use of this Rydia. No, it is knocking her down to be an anchor.
Yeah, this really might be the play that you were mentioning there, where it's set up as an anchor, maybe specifically to get Edward to be able to hide before the Dark Knight Cecil's Dark Waves attacks hit.
Now, the one thing that Locke will have going for him as he's getting into these Feymarch fights is he has a curse string, so he'll be able to get Edward to be fast enough without doing this little grind that Dia's doing. But it doesn't look like he's interested in taking that Dark Knight Cecil at the moment.
And so if this is what Dia's play is, then if it pans out, then that could be a huge lead for Dia. If not, this is an opportunity for Locke to really make up for some of that time spent going through like that reset in the Baron Inn earlier.
For sure.
Because Dia is heading back to the Feymarch. It looks like that hide is on her mind right now.
Yeah, and this makes sense. It's very tempting because Edward is not a super useful character other than for a couple of bosses, namely Evil Wall, who is at Mist Cave, and this Dark Knight Cecil. He doesn't have a lot of uses for other bosses, so she might be thinking, I want to take advantage of Edward while I've got him, and then go and do Dwarf Castle and ditch Edward at that point.
Odin's another one that he has a use for, but yeah, there's not a ton of them. That's for sure.
I don't believe Dia saved, but I think she did turn the battle speed down, and that should be enough to get her through this fight.
Yeah, she's got it now.
But it does look like Locke is sitting through the package cutscene for Porum.
Yeah, it looks like Locke really wants that white mage, where Dia might be a little bit more comfortable without the white mage in her party.
I mean, Dia has half a white mage.
I mean, Tella does the job of white mage in most of the fights, but when you start to get to those mid-game, long-game fights where you might need a heal, or ones that do AoE damage that's really tough, things like Ogopogo or something, healing becomes a lot more important. And Tella, he does know Cure 4, but it is not a very strong Cure 4 with his poor stats.
For sure, but Dia has found the value. That Dark Knight Cecil was holding on to a Twin Harp.
Yeah, that's something that really is going to pay off now. That's a pretty big advantage that Dia has with Locke not taking on that Dark Knight Cecil.
You know, Locke is very likely to leave that Feymarch behind for a while because without using that hide strat that Dia used, that Dark Knight Cecil is very rude. But it does look like Dia is interested in getting Rydia some levels at this point.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. So long as Tella can get this stone to hit. Oh, going for weak this time. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, weak is a little bit more likely to hit, and although it doesn't kill the egg right away, it knocks it down to the point where Sid can probably do the job. And we found a water hag in the Kaipo Inn. Probably not the boss you're hoping to see here as Locke.
Yeah, this is like the water hag is an easy fight because it's basically a guaranteed win. All you have to do is hit it 3 times. But at this location, it's probably a slower fight than most even hard bosses because the spot has so few hit points.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the hit points of the spot doesn't matter for Water Hag. Water Hag will not go away until you hit it 3 times.
Ooh, Dia finding samurai arrows in Tomra. Looks like she wants to set up an archer. Samurai bow and samurai arrows is a pretty good combo.
For sure, that combo is one of the best you're going to be able to find for a while. Although we could find some Artemis arrows naturally, they're not going to show up in shops other than Coco's shop, and even then, they're pretty expensive.
I wonder if that dip into Tomra's weapon shop was just like, I want some decent arrows, any decent arrows to justify these levels I just gained on radio.
I mean, samurai arrows will do it. But it does look like Dia is headed off to give us our harp tunes. That's the wrong color, Chocobo.
I've definitely done that one before.
Yeah, sometimes you try to talk to one and you talk to the other one, and it just takes you out of the Chocobo Forest, and you're like, thanks, but no thanks, Yellow Chocobo. You can't take me to Cave Magnus.
In Cave Magnus, Dia's going to get the good news that Yang's claws are unaffected by the magnets, but yeah, we're going to get a treat of some music down at the bottom of the cave, and one of the fun Easter eggs in Free Enterprise, if you haven't seen it before, is that the harp music that Edward plays down at the bottom of this cave is randomized each seed. So we're going to see what we get here pretty soon.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of wonderful harp tunes in this pool. And I think this is one of the features that's been in the randomizer the longest.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the original Easter eggs for sure.
Yeah, but as Dia is heading into this crystal room, Locke has decided that he's going to go for the same grind that Dia went for, just with Porum instead of Rydia. And unfortunately, Edward and Young are not magnetized.
Well, like I said, Yang's claws, he's cool with those. It might not be as good news as it seemed like it was in the vanilla game, but now that scripted fight is over, it's time for the music to begin, and so we will be quiet for a little while to let y'all enjoy a little bit of DJ Spoonie B's rockin' tunes.
While Dia was giving us music, our Locke on the other screen did show off our favorite NPC, the Jog Dwarf. I did not catch the whole name. It was a lot of words.
It was much for me. I didn't see it all, but some interesting things on Dia's fight there. Getting a sorcerer robe as the reward, pretty decent. piece of gear, not progression, but it is, of course, objective number 2 to complete Cave Magnus. But you can see that investing in Rydia kind of paid off there, doing like 2,000 damage with that Samurai Bow and Samurai Arrow combo. Also, Mylon Z there counts as flying, so getting the bonus damage for hitting a flying type enemy with the bow and arrow. So everything really worked out well for Dia there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Locke is heading into Dwarf Castle, which is a new check for us. Finds just the Baron guards at this front spot, so these shouldn't be too hard. They don't have the boss bit, so they can be stopped with an hourglass. You can hit them with weak.
Lots of options for how to deal with them. The scariest thing on them are their nasty counter scripts, which is Piggy and Minnie. But if you can either mute them, stop them, put them to sleep, something like that, then they are not scary.
Yep. Or you could use some of the coffins that Dia just bought in the shops here in Dwarf Castle.
Yes, they are susceptible to instant death.
And we have...
Looks like the second place.
Yeah, we have Leviathan here.
Ooh, the character is a Rosa. That's...
Oh, that...
I mean, it's still an upgrade for Edward, but that's a bit up... When you went through that cutscene to get the forum, and here's the Rosa sitting right here, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's gotta feel bad to sit through for one white mage and then just get a second one. I mean, 2 white mages is not a bad thing to have.
And Rosa is better than Edward in general.
Yes, Rosa will do more damage than Edward.
Now, the fact that Locke did not get that pink tail, or excuse me, did not get that twin harp, doesn't mean he's out of the running, even if he doesn't go there. Remember, our runners only have to complete 4 out of the 5 objectives, so if Locke can do the other 4, then he'll be okay as well.
Yeah.
The fact that Dia did that does give her a bit of a boost, I'll say.
Yeah, it definitely does, as Dia can now only complete 2 more objectives and then be done. But if say the last 2 objectives that Dia finds are in the same place, then Locke might be able to save a little bit of time by not checking that Dark Knight Cecil and getting that twin heart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky situation all around, though. We'll see how it goes and how much divergence the runners have at this point through the rest of the race as well.
Yeah, that is a Baron key from Dwarf Castle, which means that we have access to another overworld rabbit hole and another character check.
Yeah, that game's still sneaking away. There's also the tower where we've got access to both of the key item checks there. See if that could lead to potentially more character checks via something like the Earth Crystal or the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, we still have, I think, just 6 character checks left now. 1 at the Hook, 1 at the Baron Key, 2 behind the Earth Crystal, and 2 behind the Darkness Crystal. So, but that's
that sounds right.
That's about half the character checks in the game still, so there's still a lot of characters to check. But it does look like Locke is going to prioritize Baron Castle.
We'll see if Dia, after completing Dwarf, feels the same way.
Yeah. I mean, Baron Castle and Lower Babel both have 2 key item checks, although the Baron Basement check is a little bit less likely to have a key item than any of the tower checks or the main Baron check. But Baron Castle does also have that extra character, and the 1 extra boss. But it does
It looks like Locke's still doing a little bit of looting here. Must still be looking for some good things. Those mute arrows are a pretty good find.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an upgrade for him, for his Rosa, who I believe he put the heroine robe on after Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, I saw that, and he didn't go shopping, so he doesn't have access to those samurai arrows that Dia bought.
Yeah, I think both of our runners have made the switch over from the other female party member to Rosa as the primary Zerker before coming here to Baron.
And we'll see. This is the little things. Locke was still in a mode where he felt he needed to get some more items, so was looting there. And Dia just zipped through this whole Baron waterway without doing any looting. So has really closed the gap in where they were relative in this Baron key sequence.
Yeah, Dia are doing a little bit of menuing here, so getting a little bit of delay going into this Octoman fight, but they're going to be in this fight at the same time.
Yeah. This was Octoman, of course, we saw at the very start of the run. Not particularly dangerous, I'd say, at the levels that our runners are at right now. Getting through this is pretty easy. Octoman has the kind of gimmick that after you hit him after a set number of times, we'll lose legs and then lose speed as far as that goes. But at this point, with the amount of damage our runners able to do, Locke able to take out Octoman and Dia as well before losing too many legs.
Yep. Locke does find some charm arrows there, which is a slight upgrade over the mute arrows. But as a result of that looting, Dia is pulled ahead going into the Baron throne.
Yeah, that's kind of a very small glimpse of what time you're giving up for looting. And sometimes it pays off and it gives you something that gets you through the next fight that much faster. The more you do it, though, the more you're risking giving up time to a really good runner like Dia.
Yeah, and the more looting you do, the less likely you are to find something that pays off that much, because everything you find pays off just a little bit less in terms of time.
Yeah. Finding Mylon and friends at the Baron throne. One elemental lord for another here, because this is the vanilla Kainazo spot.
Yep. Dia gets through the fight a little bit faster. Titan doing a whole lot of work for her.
Yeah, by virtue of completing the Dwarf Castle check, Rhodia gets promoted to her adult form and gets all the summons that she learns basically during her disappearance of the vanilla game. So that includes Titan, which could be, I mean, it's not Quake, but it's kind of Quake.
It's almost Quake. It's like the slightly worse Quake that costs a little bit more MP.
Yeah, and takes a little bit longer to cast.
Yeah. It's sort of Quake.
It does what it needs to do in a pitch.
Yeah.
Sid as the character here, we already found Sid.
No option to take him because we do have no duplicate characters turned on.
Yeah. And the key item check yields the pass. That's we talked about earlier. It's nice to have the tower key in your pocket. I think the pass even more so.
Yeah, the pass is a really nice item to have in your pocket because that means that you can now get to Zeromus without having access. It's a little bit scary without the Darkness Crystal because you might be forced into doing a lower level Zeromus fight than you might want to. But it's very nice to have just in terms of you have easy access to Zeromus from the overworld. You don't have to worry about walking down to the bottom of the lunar subterrane at the end of the seed. And we have double value here in Baron Basement with that demist.
Yeah, that is a nice find too. Kind of an annoying place to find D-Mist because this is a pretty fast spot. But all D-Mist does is attack 3 times and then turn into a mist form. When it's in mist form, it doesn't attack. It'll counterattack if you hit it with physical attack, but you can use the time to recover, get everything set up for the next time that it comes in, making it really not all that scary a fight in general compared to a lot of other physical bosses.
Yeah, it's not that scary a fight, it's just a little bit of a long fight.
And you see D-Mist hits reasonably hard, but with plenty of time to recover during the mist phases, it's not nearly as scary as it kind of looks at front.
Yeah. The one advantage Locke has here over Dia is that Locke has access to Blink, whereas Dia does not, as her Rosa has not quite gotten enough levels.
Yeah, and with Tella laid face down on the floor, that would be the other access that she would have to Blink at this time. But looking to use Tella as the anchor, it looks like right now.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think Locke took a reset there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But it does look like he's moving on to another check. It's good to not throw yourself at the same check over and over again.
Yeah, but these ones that are giving him pause so far have been pretty unfortunate. There was the magma key in Baron Inn that Dia was able to take care of on the first try, and it took Locke 2 tries. There's now this fight here in the Baron basement, and there was the Dark Knight Cecil down in the Feymarch, which Locke didn't even attempt, but Dia was able to get past. And 2 out of 3 of them have been pretty important as well.
Yep. Locke just found a Leviathan orb from that trapped chest in Lower Babel that I'm sure Dia would like to have.
Yeah, these with the, I believe he's got the Thunderclaw, reasonably able to one-shot these alerts in here. It's kind of a lottery trying to get a tier 7 equipment for somebody that's in the party, right?
Yeah, it's only a 15% chance of even getting a tier 7 item in the first place from any of these trap chests, and then it's another 1 in 8 from there to see if you get something useful.
I think we've got to call ourselves a little bit of a commentator's curse here, because this D-Mist is becoming a lot more difficult. Dia was down to her last character. Luckily, Mist Form comes and some life potions being used, but still, this is not an easy fight.
Yeah. I mean, Dia's, as long as she has 4 characters up at the beginning of each punchy phase, she should be fine. And as long as she doesn't run out of life potions.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But we do have Mom Bomb here at the top of tower, which is a little bit rude.
Yeah, not the strongest physically in this location, but a lot of hit points, and Mom Bomb has some bonus hit points on top of it by the nature of it in free enterprise.
Yeah, this is going to have a lot of hit points. The explosion should be laughable. I don't expect it to take anyone down at all if Locke can get to the explosion phase. Although the damage here isn't terrible, and worst case scenario, Porum has Blink, Tella has Blink.
See, while these ooh, that Deem is still hitting hard, but ooh, the 39 damage from Rydia is enough to finish off the Demus, which probably was a bit frustrating for Dia and how long it took. But this is one of the, even though, well, we get the rat tail here, even if it was junk, Dia wouldn't be able to reset out of it because you've got to check Mist Village after you defeat Mist Dragon, because Rydia's mom will have another potential key item.
Yeah, that is actually 9 key items for Dia now, so if Rydia's mom gives a key item, Dia will start getting double experience from all of the fights going forward, and that could be really big, especially at this top of tower spot. Well, if the top of tower spot wasn't Mom Bomb, who gives split experience.
Of course, Dia goes right over to Mist Village, doesn't want to forget about this Demus check, and let's see what we get.
I mean, those are nice.
Yeah, I mean, they do damage.
They do a bit more damage than the samurai arrows that she had.
I call it half of Sid's ultimate weapon.
Yeah, you could say that. I didn't see what Locke got from the top of tower, but it doesn't look like it was anything too important. And that's...
But that's an alt gauntlet in the tower key room. That is not a fun place to find an alt gauntlet at all.
Oh, that's really not fun, especially if you're going to use your J items early in this gauntlet. Because this gauntlet has a fun surprise at the end of it.
And our tracker Smitty informs us it was a Soma drop from the top of tower. So yeah, we get our telecast video now.
I mean, that's nice. It may as well use it on Tele. It looks like Locke is out of J items, so is now going to have to just manually fight through all of these enemies. Kick is not going to do it here. These enemies are somewhat tough.
Agreed. This is a spot that you think of as kind of an easy spot in general. Only about 1,000 hit points. Not too much for stats. It's just dark imps normally. But Alt Gauntlet is replacing it with monsters that are native to the tower. So quite a bit higher level than the dark imps, which are native to around Dwarf Castle. So
yeah,
not
the dark imps do show up outside of the tower as well, but it's...
Yeah.
I think most of these enemies in this gauntlet have as much HP as all 3 dark imps combined.
Yeah. It's just a considerable increase in difficulty from the default fight in this place.
Yeah, especially with those chimeras, which absorb every element.
Yes.
And
non-elemental spells like Virus become a lot more important in that.
And they have a fun script if you leave them alone. They start doing percentage-based damage. It's a time. They start casting...
The flame dogs are by themselves too. They do the fire attack, so...
Yeah,
it's just dangerous fights.
A lot of these fights are not that fun. But I think we're through the worst of the gauntlet now. Just some black lizards for this fight. They can counter with stone, but it's a very gradual petrify, so it's not particularly scary.
You see Yang making use of that ice claw. Those black lizards are weak to ice, so along with a lot of the monsters in this. Interestingly, these tofus also weak to ice.
Yeah, but they have a lot of physical defense, so hope you saved some J items, because Yeah, you have to deal with 6 of these, and hope Tella doesn't go down. Oh, and Tella was out of MP too. Oh no.
Yeah, this is going to be easy to get through. This is... Oh, that's smart. Use an hourglass here so that you can take the time to revive up Tella, re-heal his MP, and then take care of him.
Yeah, these tofus are rude.
But when I said they're weak to ice, that is how it works with the... at least with the red, yellow, and white ones, the Flan-type enemies in this game are weak to the element associated with the color. So Tofu is weak to ice, the red one's weak to fire, the yellow one's weak to lightning.
Yeah, it does look like if you throw enough Thor Rages at them, you can get through.
Yeah, any magic will do damage, but ice will be the fastest.
Yeah, that was not a fun fight for Locke.
No, that was tough. That's one that Dia is going to have a bit of an advantage having Rydia on the team for, because Rydia's magic is just so much stronger than Tella's, and like Locke didn't even want to use, like Tella was out of MP, like wasn't really intending to use Tella for damage of that, and Rydia has so much more MP and magic power. She's just going to be better suited for that fight.
Yeah, I think one virus from Rydia will take out all those tofus.
Yeah. Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of hit points. It's only like 200 or so, but you do have to do it all with magic.
And as Locke exits the tower here, we will get a glimpse at what the key item for defeating that off gauntlet is. And if this is nothing, then this was a very rude tower with Mom Bomb and that off gauntlet.
Oh my goodness, that's just, yeah, that's the tower of time wasting. That's not nothing.
That's
though.
the darkness crystal. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is a good. That's a relief. Like with Locke, after spending so much time and effort on getting those tofus down, for it to actually be worth it, that's gotta feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Dia now coming up across the tofu, and here comes the virus. We'll see if that one virus is enough. I think you're probably right. It probably is enough.
Yep.
6-1.
Dia threw that last fight much faster, but Locke is almost done raising the big whale. And so I think he'll give us our first glimpse at this character on the moon.
We see Locke take a save here. If this isn't Kane or a character that he wants, he might reset back down and do more blue planet checks.
Yeah, might be considering taking on the Fame Arch bosses, or heading back for that demist.
Yeah, after getting more experience from the tower, he might feel more comfortable in that demist at this time.
Yeah, saving right outside as well in case he wants to check the shop on the moon. Because I don't believe we found sirens yet.
I think you're right.
That is a lunar
Kane.
dragoon.
So that is objective number 5 for Locke. Dia is going to be getting her darkness crystal and will have access to that dragoon very shortly as well.
Yeah, Locke is taking the cane at this point. I don't think we have anything better than that Blizzard Spear, unfortunately. But he can do some work with the Blizzard Spear.
Yeah, until he gets a few levels, it's probably going to be at very low levels. It's usually best used as an item. It casts an ice spell on the baddies, but either way, it's not going to be very effective at this stage of the game.
Yeah. I think he is better off using it as an item at this point. I think the Blizzard Spear does about 300 damage.
Yeah. Well, there are those sirens.
Yeah, we have access to our grind now. And it does
Looks
look like
there's
Locke...
more that he wants to do on the blue planet, yeah.
Yeah, I think this might be a play to go back to the blue planet to grind on some eggs, or might be just considering taking on some of those summon spots.
Dia now heading up to the moon, going to get that Dragoon and objective number 5. And Dia's going to be one objective away from go mode. And that could be gotten either with the hook or the legend sword. So just one key item is what Dia is going to need.
Yeah, I think Locke really needs to hope that those two key items are in pretty much the same place.
Yeah, and kind of hidden as well.
Yeah. Say both behind a rude pan that's hidden down here behind the Leviathan spot.
Something like that, yeah. That would be what Locke would need at this point, because things have worked out really well for Dia this seed. She's also been playing really fast and efficiently, too. Like, not giving Locke a lot of opportunities to make up time, just in general.
Yeah. She's been tearing her way through this seed, and the only thing she's leaving behind on this blue planet is that Leviathan spot.
Right.
And Dia's getting rid of Sid. Says, I only have enough stuff to equip either Kane or Sid. I'd rather have Kane in the party.
I think it's with the fact that she's been leaving Tella for an anchor already. I like this play. The other option would be if you wanted to use Sid as an anchor, don't really worry about his equipment much, but you can still take advantage of his nice HP pool in the meantime as well. But in this case, I can understand making this decision here.
Yeah, especially since she's about to dive into the lunar subterrane with 10 key items.
Yeah.
Because these are the boss spots that, well, other than the 2 boss spots in the Giant, these boss spots give the most experience of any boss spots in the game. And going through the lunar subterrane at 10 key items can be a grind.
And Locke taking advantage of Yang's HP pool and timely healing, able to get through brute force on the Dark Knight Cecil Pipe. So he's going to get his Twin Harp. Yeah. We'll see if he wants to take on this Rubik's fight.
Yeah, this Twin Harp is great news for him, at least in terms of catching up, but since now he only needs that to find one of the objectives behind this Rubicant, if he decides to take it, which it looks like he is going to take it based on the fact that he's walking out to save.
Yeah, he's at least going to check it and see if it's something that he can do. We haven't seen elements yet, have we? So it could be either one?
I believe so.
They're both scary and for different reasons at that. But neither of them are easy.
I would rather see Rubicant here, I think.
I don't know. The speed is the killer on the Rubicant. Those glares are going to come out pretty fast, but it is elements where the physical damage is going to be so brutal here.
Yeah, and the reason I was saying Rubicon was because he had that Ice Claw equipped, but it looks like he does have a Fire Claw as well.
Yeah, I believe Locke has one of all 3 elemental claws, so is really taking advantage of that. This is the scariest part of the elements fight, is the Rubicon form. It'll do Fire 2, Fire 3, then a target all glare, which is just brutally powerful.
Yeah, this Fire 3 won't take down the Yang, but if the glare comes
The
out...
glare will.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Dia grinding on Bull Dragons or King Ryu's down here, making use of those sirens that she bought in the Hummingway abode. So this is a way to get Kane up to speed very quickly.
Yeah, Kane is one of those characters who he doesn't need to be the highest leveled on the team to do some work. So probably after this Gold Dragon fight, Kane will be basically ready to start taking on some moon bosses. Oof,
Physical attacks from the Elven, so strong.
Yeah, that Mylon form hits really hard. Tella had the Ice 3 queued up for right at the transition. Yang is queued up a Power Punch, although I'm not sure he's going to survive through this Fire 2. The timing on the Ice 3 was so good, but then Yang took a punch in the Elements phase, or in the Mylon phase, and it looks like Locke is going to move out.
That's unfortunate. Because I think if he was able to beat that Elements fight, that's probably his best bet to really find an avenue to zip past Dia here.
Yeah, but that Elements fight is just rude. The Mylon phase punches really hard, and then the Rubicon phase with those glares. Ugh.
Yeah, it is one of the scariest places that you can get the Elements fight, I would think.
For sure. But it does look like Locke is going to go at least get this music check done. Get objective parity at least with Dia.
Meanwhile, Dia is probably close to done grinding. Yeah, it looks like gonna head down to the bottom of the lunar subterrane, probably recover at a save point, and then we've got some boss checks and key item checks down here. Like I mentioned not too long ago, Dia is either a hook or a legend sword away from go mode at this point in time.
Yeah, and theoretically both of those could be down on the blue planet, gated in the Feymarch, but the odds are in Dia's favor here.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, my imagination is, with what happened in that Elements fight, after this fight here for Locke, he's going to be lunar bound. So his next bet is that he takes a route in the moon other than bottom up from lunar subterrane.
Yeah, perhaps he gets a sneaky check in at Cave Value and finds everything he needs there. But Dia has found Golbez at the Ribbon Room.
Always annoying, but able to get the Venom off fast enough to avoid the hold. But meanwhile, we'll be quiet again so you can hear the reprise of some music from DJ Spoony B. Hope you enjoyed once again the ending of Super Mario Brothers 3 as performed by Edward on the harp. Probably my second favorite end music for a Mario game. I'm partial to Super Mario Land's finals, but this was a very nice one as well.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice ending loop. Meanwhile, Dia is still working her way through Golbez.
Yeah, this is a very high HP spot to find Golbez, and doing your best. This is still, despite being able to prepare with the Venom at the beginning, it's not a simple task to get through this fight.
Yeah, this is the Golbez just keeps hurling spells. And there's no wall on Kane, I believe, right now. Well, Dia's putting one up now, but basically had to rely on Kane not taking too many of the spells, and most of the spells hitting Rydia or Rosa, who had walls up. But even then, Golbez isn't going to do the final hit with his reflected damage. You're going to have to hit him with something, which is why Kane is berserked. Rydia was tossing fire threes, but there's the why. Golbez is down. Rosa learns white. And Dia gets a spoon and an apple.
You can use one to eat the other. Now Locke is entering the lunar subterranean. We'll see if he decides to go bottom up, top down. If he decides to do some grinding along the way like Dia did. He's going top down. This is some fun divergence right now.
Yeah, this is huge. If this Murasame altar pays off, that could be huge for Locke.
Because right now, Locke is now in the same position that Dia is in. Either one of them, if they find either the Legend Sword or the Hook, they're in go mode.
Yeah, Antlion's probably not what Locke is hoping for, although Dia has just found Rubicant.
Yeah, this is actual Rubicant. Yeah, but Dia's got a ton of levels as well.
Yeah, Dia's levels are in much better shape for taking on moon bosses than Locke's levels are.
And I definitely think this makes sense, making extensive use of the Blink spell, because the primary damage from Antlion is its physical attack. Horns, the amount of damage done by them is relatively insignificant, but it's still something that you do need to keep aware of.
Yeah, but using Power Punch with Yang will get around that counter script. And he's doing 2,000 damage. That's not nothing.
Yeah, now that Yang's got some levels on him, his damage output is increased significantly. Also, we found that Black Belt, both of the runners found Black Belts to use with Yang as well.
Yeah, Dia taking advantage of her Ice Claw to do quad 9s to Rubicant with Yang's Power Punch. And Rubicant really does not want Rydia to get experience.
No. Gotta take the summoner down. I think it's worth noting. I think the Rubicant is generally considered a more difficult boss at these lunar spots, but the amount of level difference is making the degree of difficulty so much higher for Locke than it was for Dia there. Just a rune axe, though, for defeating Rubicant, not a great prize.
Yeah, Dia is not even saving. Going straight to this Masamune altar does not care about having to reset out of that experience and the rune axe, because that spot didn't give a whole lot of experience.
Yeah, and at this point, Diaz feels like she's Zeramus ready, I think. So
yeah,
the experience is that much less important to her at this point.
For sure. And we have another rude boss on the moon in the form of Baigen.
Yeah, Baigen, no joke at this spot.
Yeah, this spot punches very hard. That was a pretty armored up Kane, taking a lot of damage. And this will be another fight where Rydia really comes in handy here with having access to Quake.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's going to be the most effective way of kind of crowd controlling this Baigen fight. When the arms come up, that Quake can get rid of both of them in one shot while still doing significant damage to Baigen.
Yeah, Dia is going to be probably trying to minimize the amount of punches she takes from these arms as much as possible.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Locke, this antlion just taking so long because you got to do so much to make sure that your characters don't die in this fight. And the damage output, like this Kane, is so low level right now.
Yeah, he is. He's doing 300-400 damage a jump. That is not what you want to be seeing from a Kane on the moon.
And the problem is Sid could probably do more damage, but Sid doesn't have an alternate attack like the power punch or the jump, so that would provoke the counter horns. And with as little HP as the characters are sitting with right now, those counter horns become a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, Dia did get through that Baigen, got a white spear, which is a nice upgrade for Kane. Also learned Nuke on Rydia, which is very nice.
And it looks like, yeah, Dia heading to the Vanilla Wyvern spot, and Locke has defeated the Antlion. Now, this is the big thing. What is the reward for this Antlion?
Oh, no.
Oh.
That's not progression.
That's just teasing Locke at this point.
So we know progression has to be, well, either at the Leviathan spot in the Fame Arch, the spot that Dia's about to check, or in Cave Bahamut.
Yeah. And my guess is Locke isn't going to go to the Leviathan spot or Cave Bahamut next.
Yeah, it looks like he's walking down this lunar subterrane.
We have Plague at the Wyvern spot. I think especially now that Dia's Rydia has learned Nuke, this is not too scary of a fight.
Not at all. Dia switching over to the White Spear to do bonus damage to Plague, as Plague is weak to whatever the element you want to call the element that spears and arrows have.
There are boomerangs in that as well?
Yep, all of them.
Yeah.
Throw element. That works. I think that's what it's called in some of the remakes. But yeah, Kane doing 5,000 damage a swing.
Looks like it is full top down from Locke, heading to the spot where Dia is. We'll see if this is going to pay off.
That is not value.
Wow, that is a sparse lunar subterrane. What was the spoon the only key item down here?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a spoon.
Wow. So Cave Bahamut and the Leviathan spot, right?
Yeah. No, it's one of those two summon spots. And we still got a Luca Key, an Earth Crystal, and a Pan that could potentially have to be chased.
Yeah, I wonder if Cave Bahamut's going to lead to a chain for one of them and the Leviathan the other.
That could be.
Dia still has to fight that antlion.
Yep. Dia is going back in to just clean up that antlion real quick. I will say, while our runners are covering each other's checks, I'd like to give a shout out to Escorian and our restreamer for tonight and our tracker Smape D. They've been doing a wonderful job so far, and shout outs to the runners as well. Give all those fine folks a follow.
I'd also like to shout out the Random Media Network, once again being great partners for Free Enterprise for this tournament. So thank you for letting us be on your network of channels. And Dia now in that antlion fight with significantly better levels than Locke was at. I think this is going to be a much easier fight for her than it was for him.
Yeah, Nuke helps a lot with that.
That's a big part of it. It's a lot easier. You don't need to spend as much time with Blink on all your characters if they can just tank the hits from the antlion itself. So a lot of that is in there.
And Dia not scared of the counters at all, just zerking up White Spear Cane.
Yeah, the counters are scary when you're taken down to critical hits from the hits from antlion, and then you've got to revive them up with life potions and things like that. But in this situation, not too scary. Locke gets his Excalibur for defeating Plague, and Dia gets the Leviathan summon. We'll see if it's just a reset or if she says, no, might as well keep these levels at this point.
Looks like is going to keep it and exit out. I think that's her first Leviathan summon for Rydia, so she can actually make some use of that.
Point. Yeah. Because there wasn't a Bahamut, but Nuke is usually enough, but at least now there's a better AoE source for her. Well, even though I think Quake is probably good enough. But
Quake's probably fine, but just in case. Leviathan's a little bit better. And it's not that much extra time to revive Tella and exit out.
So now Dia heading over to Cave Bahamut. If she defeats the boss here, that's another potential key item check. And at this point, we are very limited in places that could have progression. So it's just with the choices being cut down so low every time another one bites the dust. Ooh, that is a scary guy to see in Bahamut's spot.
Scary for punches for sure, but the Zentetsicans aren't going to hurt too badly here.
And once again, Nuke does a lot of damage.
Yeah. Oh goodness, Locke is heading into the White Spear Altar first, and I think this is a play to try to get a 10th key item out of this moon before taking the Ribbon Room. Which unfortunately we know in the booth is not going to happen.
That Ice Claw's definitely going to help for that Rubicon fight, though.
Yeah, this Rubicon is going to have a bad day.
Rubicon also having a bad day because no Rydia to target this time.
Yeah, no, your glare doesn't work as well against Sid. Sid actually tanked that glare, I think to Locke's surprise, and is still alive.
Sid's pretty tough.
And it turns out the value is in the Fey March all along.
Oh, wow.
As we get a strength ring from Cave Value.
Yeah, it's got to be, and it's got to involve the Luca Key and the Earth Crystal too, right?
It could. those could be gated behind the rat tail, so we could get the hook directly, but that legend sword has to be buried pretty deeply at this point. But yeah, Dia has left the moon, is headed back to the blue planet. I believe she knows exactly that she has to check exactly that elements fight. Well, Locke is continuing through this moon dive, still fading that ribbon room, hoping for that 10th key item to get that doubled experience, but unfortunately we know in the booth that it will not happen for him. Locke is not going to take Baigen first, though. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty smart move. He's deciding, nope, I'm gonna leave Baigen alone for now, and maybe do a grind. Okay, yeah, this looks like a double gold dragon grind. Real quick here. 3 hourglasses in the inventory, three double gold dragons. Even though he doesn't have 10 key items, is still a nice 270,000 experience, which should make the rest of this moon a lot easier. And Dia is getting ready to take on these elements. Not even worried. Zerking up Young, queuing up a nuke.
Yeah, this fight's kind of weird how it's scripted. The nuke itself might be enough to take out this. Probably not by itself at this spot.
Nuke does tip the phase. Knocking down Tella because he still needs to anchor. Yang doing 9,000 damage and skipping over that Ruby phase immediately.
And that's good. The Ruby phase, as we mentioned when Locke was taking it on, probably the most dangerous part of the elements fight. Getting past that is a big relief always.
Yeah, the rest of this fight should go pretty smoothly. Kinazo does bring back some of the punches. And the Val form after the Kinazo form will also punch, but they do some other things in addition to punching, which are a little less scary. But also Val is just weak to everything, so
yeah,
she melts away really quickly. And that's the pan. So we have found the start of our rabbit hole.
Now the question becomes, how much more do we have to do once we do the free checks from the pan?
Yep. Will we get a hook or a legend sword off of this pan? I think we can only get the legend sword if there's some other key item on the pan as well. But we could just get a hook from this pan, and then turn in the rat tail could continue the chain.
Right, or we could get, as we talked about, the other rabbit hole ones, the Earth Crystal or the Luca key could also be involved in this.
Yeah. Both of those would be a bit of extra time to go clear.
Yeah.
What would be interesting is if you get the Earth Crystal and the Luca key from this pan. Because then it becomes a question of which one do you chase first? But that question is irrelevant because there's the hook from the Sylphs.
Yep, that means Dia can go ahead and turn in that pink tail for objective number 3 and get the crystal for go mode. Head straight on over to Toria for the shortcut via the pass. And we are going to have final battle very soon.
Yep, just has to raise the hovercraft first. But Dia is in good shape to take on Zeromus. Shouldn't need any more levels on her party.
I agree.
So this should be just raise this hovercraft, turn in that pink tail, and then straight to Zeromus. But meanwhile, it looks like Locke has decided to leave the moon, which is good for him, but I think it's a little bit too late, unfortunately, especially with going to this barren basement that we know doesn't pay off.
Yeah, the real unfortunate thing was if Locke was able to defeat that element fight when he came there earlier, this might have been Locke's race.
Yeah, it could have gone such a different way if Locke had gotten through that elements on the first try.
Yeah. So a bit unfortunate. He was a bit under-leveled for that fight when he was there, because it was going to be a difficult fight no matter what. Not quite able to do it. Was trying to juggle the claws on Yang to get to cycle through the elemental weaknesses that's going through, and was doing a pretty good job, but it just wasn't quite enough. And
yeah,
I think that's really the big difference in this race.
Yeah, I think so. The Pinktail did not have a weapon that we can use, so sorry, no value there other than the crystal. But I'm starting to see some flags coming out in chat. Rex, do you want to explain what those mean?
Well, Zeramus, the final boss of Final Fantasy IV, is a bit too big, a bit too bad to add in with the rest of the bosses in the boss pool, but we don't want to leave them out in the randomization. So we get a custom sprite from every time. Xenocat, do you want to ask the fan favorite question?
I believe that question is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Absolutely, because we are right on the precipice of time. So let's see what the seed has to offer.
I believe there are 528 sprites that Zeromus can shift into.
Yes, that was definitely a number.
It's somewhere very close to that. I think that's the right number.
It might be, for all I know.
It was 525, and then we started adding like individual sprites for things. And I think there's been 3 of those. It's hard to keep track.
Now, even though Zeramus's appearance will be randomized, the battle script that Zeramus does is the same as in the vanilla game. So you're going to be dealing with a bunch of big bangs, some black holes, and some nasty magic.
Yeah, this script is all the same. So at least the runners know what they're getting into at the end of the seed.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
I like the rubble from Kool-Aid Man crashing through is part of the sprite.
Yeah, Kool-Aid Man doesn't just like appear in the void. He crashes through the game into the void. But it does look like Dia is going for fairly traditional hybrid strats, zerking up Yang and Kain to get some consistent damage going on, and then might be setting up to reflect some nukes.
Yeah, I think when you've got the right characters to pull this sort of strategy off, I think it's a very efficient way of getting through Zeramus quickly. Because despite the fact that if you do a pure reflect strat, where the only way that you're dealing damage to Zeramus is by reflecting magic, then you're going to bypass what we call an HP refill in the middle of the fight, where to get around some coding restraints, Zeramus refills to full HP halfway through the fight. The fact that you're doing that consistent damage with the Berserkers means that the overall time of the fight is reduced because you're not seeing as many of those spell animations.
Yeah, and especially it's doing a reflect strat fight with only 2 spellcasters in this case, just the Rydia and the Rosa, theoretically would not. You'd likely end up seeing a second Big Bang, and it starts to become sketchy whether your party is going to survive through that second Big Bang in that Reflect fight. Whereas in this case, we're not super worried about seeing the second Big Bang because we're going to tip the HP refill, which triggers a phase change that restarts the script before that second Big Bang comes out, likely.
Yeah, absolutely. If everything goes the way that you want it to do during a hybrid fight like this, you'll only see that first Big Bang. And you might see rocks falling at the end. And that'll be like the next thing you see.
Yeah, I would fully expect us to just see... We might still see that second Big Bang come out. I think we might be in that damage range where that might happen, but...
Yeah, it could. It kind of depends on how strong the Berserk fighters are. And I think Kane still has a Blizzard Spear, so it might be a little low on damage to get past that second Big Bang. You might be right on that one.
I think we'll be fine. I think Kane has a White Spear because she picked her White Spear up from the Masamune altar. So
you're right.
It should be fine. Oh yeah, if Rydia's doing quad 9s on her nukes, we're going to be fine.
Rydia's magic power here, very strong indeed.
And there's rocks.
And that was just one Big Bang. So yeah, this fight went exactly the way Dia wanted it to go. So very well prepped for and executed.
And I think with this nuke...
this nuke's gotta be it.
Yeah. That's GG's. Dia has won this race. We don't have our official time yet, but...
Yeah, and the winner of the best 2 out of 3, because, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Dia comes in with a 1-game advantage due to the difference in points accumulated in the Swiss portion of this round. And I believe we are now being joined by today's winner, Dia. Dia, GG's on your race tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, that seed. So, what did you make of the items that you got on the moon?
I've never seen a more haunted moon in my life.
Yeah, there was a spoon.
There was a spoon.
I guess the White Spear counts as value.
I think the biggest value I got on that moon was Nuke.
Yeah, I would say that. Nuke was really good for you in that Z fight. And for the rest of the moon, once you got it.
Honestly, Rydia just MVP this seed.
Yeah.
She was very strong for you. We saw you bust out Titan earlier, too. That was nice to see as well.
Yeah, I saw her, like, when I did my initial check, since we had 2 character checks, I checked Kaiba. Saw her in the bed there, I was like, okay. Got the Sand Ruby, I was like, now I can do this DKC with anchoring. And even if that's nothing, I can just reset back, give her levels, put Heroine Robe on her. I have a Samurai Bow as well, and she's going to deal pretty decent damage for me and be fairly safe with that defense I had on her. I had a Tiara as well, so she was just geared out for like the entire seed.
Yeah, the seed really gave you so many things to make Rydia work early on, and then even that Leviathan summon on the moon, it tried to be helpful.
It didn't try hard enough.
No, Leviathan at that point was a little bit late.
Yeah, just a little.
But yeah, any other thoughts on the seed?
Just triple required fame rush is not something you ever want to see.
No.
Especially if you go moon.
No, that pay march was definitely a thing.
Yeah, and like if you take out the DKC like I did, you don't go back there. Like at that point, you just kind of write it off till near the end.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to make that walk again if you don't have to.
No, why would you make that walk down just for the 1 check? That's just a summon check. It's probably nothing.
It's just elements.
It's just elements, and elements are rude there.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight that.
I have 2 outs. Surely one of them will be on the moon.
Yeah.
Right.
It has to be. There's like 7 checks on the moon. There's got to be something.
There was not something.
No, there wasn't. There was not something on the moon. Well, unless you count the spoon, but no.
We don't.
We don't count the spoon.
Now we already have 2 key items at least.
No. It's a key item experience booster. That's about it.
Yep.
And a nice start if you have edge. But we did not see edge this seed.
Yeah. Edge was probably hiding on the giant or just taking a vacation.
Yeah.
He saw there was a ninja sword in the seed and said, no thanks.
Yeah, no, he saw there was a ninja sword. He saw there was a Masamune at the pink tail. He said, no, I'm going to take a break.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, no. If you find good gear for Edge early, he's just not going to show up.
Yep. And also, Yank's doing with a poison claw. So nice considering I've only gotten trump cards like the past 3 times in a row.
Yeah, no, we saw that. I mean, it's like, that is... Yang came with something that's actually going to be useful for, like, the rest of the game.
Yeah, and just, like, when you get a trump card, he's not a character. Like, he can't hit anything.
No, he really can't. He can maybe hit some things from very small amounts of damage if he's in the middle slot.
Yes, only if he's in the middle slot will he not miss.
But yeah, GG's again on your win tonight, Dia. This will advance you to the round of 16. What are your thoughts on moving forward?
Looking for the next match, I definitely feel like I need to clean up some of my play. Got a bit sloppy in there, and this seed was kind of nice that I just stayed on battle speed 3 the whole time, and it ended up being probably the right play just because of what I was seeing on the moon and whatnot. But if this was like on battle speed 1, I don't think I get some of those fights nearly as cleanly as I did. So just need to kind of clean some things up around the edges if I hope to beat my next opponent.
Yeah, Rex, anything you would like to ask Dia?
For the things that I really wanted to hit on, I just wanted to say thank you for letting us watch your race tonight, and GG's on your finish, and good luck in the rest of the event.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Dia. And it looks like we are now joined by Locke. GG's on getting through so much of that seed.
GG's, I'm upset. I watched back the part where Yang died by 9 HP against the elements.
Oh, we were so heartbroken for you in the booth because, I mean, we were thinking there's got to be something there for you to have hope. Because Dia at that point,
I needed so much to go right there, and I was like, I don't want to keep bashing my head against this just in case the moon is good.
No, it was.
Yeah, then I get out there.
The right call from your perspective to nope out and go do something else if you're banging your head against a wall, because you're not making progress if you're just banging your head against the same boss over and over. But
like 9 HP, that was so close. I had realized if I had healed with Rosa just beforehand, I would have been fine.
Yeah, well, it was, and that was like the big turning point, because if knowing now where we know everything fell, like if you would have been able to get through that, this may have been your race here. Like that, it was that important.
Like that would have been the win for me, because at that point, I get the pan, I get the hook, I turn in Pink Tail, I go up to the moon, I have, I think at that point, 5 sirens, 5 hourglasses, bust out.
You would have had a grind, you would have had 10 key items for that grind, and Dia would have been clearing the moon.
Yep. Then walk down to Zero Miz. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, unfortunately, with that and with the difference in points, that means this is the end for you in the Lali-Ho League. I'm sure it's not the end of you in Free Enterprise, but just wanted to get what your thoughts are of this event. What did you gain from it?
I technically got further than I ever have in one of these tournaments yet, so we're getting there.
That's awesome.
Most of the time when I get to the brackets, I lose the first match. This is technically the second match, so we take those.
There you go.
And I mean, what a second match it was, because I mean, going up against someone like Dia with a 1 game advantage on DSI, it's like, how do I overcome this?
Yeah, that is definitely a feat to be asked of any runner.
Yeah, and knowing that you were that one battle, that 9 HP away from being able to beat Dia, that's pretty big too.
Yeah, like honestly, I am not mad either, because like I was saying in the race chat, my schedule's freeing up. Like,
Sure.
I don't have to schedule another race for this week. I can do other things. So I'm not mad at all.
That is definitely a nice feeling.
Well, did you have any final thoughts before we let you go tonight, Locke?
Moon sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that moon was terrible, and it was haunted.
I looked at the gold base, looked at the background, I'm like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, no.
Nah.
The only key item on that moon was the spoon.
And I didn't find it.
No.
Was it behind the gold base? Oh no,
It was behind Golbez. Viken did have a white spear.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't doing gold base. No, I'm good.
But yeah, no. There was really nothing on that moon.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So thanks again for the restream. I'll have to watch back the first part of this race, see little differences there, and I'll definitely probably enjoy it. So thank you again.
All right, GG's on your overall finish. Even though things didn't go your way tonight, good to know that you're doing better than you have in these other events. So GG's for that, Locke.
Right. And thank you.
Again.
All right. Well, that was our runner-up, Locke. Make sure to give both Locke and Dia a big follow for putting on such a great race. Once again, want to thank our Restream team for tonight. We've got Escorian on the Restream itself, Smatey on the tracking. I've been joined by Xenocat in the booth. Big thanks for being a great partner tonight, Xenocat.
Thank you, too, for joining me. It's been a blast commentating this with you.
And we are going to send you all on over to the Free Enterprise channel for some more Free Enterprise Lali-Ho League action. We've got Zilch versus Possumorpheus. Just make sure, do not say anything about the outcome of this race. People are going to want to come back and see this one and see how Dia just laid waste to this seed.